All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Liberty Lately, your weekly source for everything New York Liberty. And right here with the New York Post, I'm Dexter Henry. And joining me each week is our women's sports reporter, Madeline Kenney. Maddie, the Liberty, they won their second game in a row with a win over the Dallas Wings in Brooklyn on Tuesday. Now they've got a chance to keep that momentum going in a rematch in the Lone Star State where you are right now against the Wings on Friday. Then they've got a high-stakes game against the Minnesota Lynx back home on Sunday. We're going to talk about trade deadline buzz, Emma Meesseman making an impact early on with this team, and a wild story that's got the entire league talking right now. Maddie, how you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm glad that, glad to be doing this.
Yeah, always glad to do this. Got to keep the people up and ready on the latest with the Liberty. Let's start with the big picture around the trade deadline. Came and went. Liberty, no major moves here other than signing Emma Meesseman, which I think is a pretty major move. Do you think
Yeah,
general manager Jonathan Cobb did the best he could to upgrade this team in the best way that they needed here
for
at the
sure.
deadline?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the getting between signing Stephanie Talbot and then adding Emma Meesseman. I mean, Jonathan Cole is putting this team in the best position to defend their title and be successful in that pursuit. And Emma Meesseman, I know we're going to talk more about her later in the show, but we're already seeing the impact of just having her. And granted, the Liberty are also very depleted in the front court because of all the injuries, and so she is just able to provide this instant boost. And that's kind of what the Liberty really needed at this moment. They just needed another healthy big. And so yeah, I think that the Liberty are in a good position right now where they're at. They need to get healthy, obviously, and that is the priority at the moment, and need to do their best to mitigate any other injuries happening. I better knock on some wood as I say that. But I think that, yeah, Jonathan, he did his job and he did his job very well.
Yeah, and you've been around the team all year, right? Right, Maddie. Is there? I mean, was it some people may nitpick? I agree. Front court depth is what they needed to get. Did
Yeah.
they need to upgrade or bolster any other areas of this team that has you concerned about them making a deep run towards another championship?
Not really, because I look at their backcourt depth and, Sabrina, you have a luxury of so many ball handlers on this team. I mean, the fact that you can even have JJ or Breanna Stewart bring up the ball. You have Kennedy Burke is technically a forward, but she has guard-like abilities.
Mhm.
So I didn't really see a need for, another ball handler or another shooter or another scorer. I mean, this team, when healthy, have made 19 threes in a game twice this season. That's like unheard of, basically. So I didn't think that there was anything that they really needed to do, or any areas that they definitely needed to shore up other than that front court depth. And I think unfortunately Niara Sabali moving forward is always going to be a question mark whether or not she's going to be able to play, and how long she's going to be able to play. So to add another big body and one that's as skilled as Emma Meesseman is exactly what they needed.
Yeah,
And they had been pursuing Emma for some time.
yeah, and look. We saw it the other night at the Barclays Center against the Wings. The crowd is chanting Emma's name at the end of the game, and you saw the T Cloud was all hyped up about it. Look, she's been pretty dope in her first two
Mhm.
games. I know limited minutes against the Sun last Saturday, and I think right now you look at it, she's been everything the New York Liberty could have hoped for within these first two games, considering the context of the fact that Stewie is out. But when you look at her veteran poise, her high basketball IQ, Maddie, how do you think she's changed this team instantly, and what stands out to you the most from her early impact in these two games that we've seen so far?
She's made an impact on both ends of the floor. And I will say, like in Connecticut, the first half was definitely her settling into the game, getting a feel for her teammates. This was the first time she's ever played with Sabrina. And, obviously Sabrina is a big part of this team. And so developing that chemistry is something that we're going to continue to see from her over the next several weeks heading into the playoffs. But the biggest thing is, defensively, she gives you another true rim protector, somebody that can allow maybe JJ to be out on the perimeter a little bit more. And if there is dribble penetration, you have somebody else there to be a stopper. You can also offensively, there's so many more options, pick and pop. We've seen a lot of that collab. The two woman tandem with her and JJ and the high
Yep.
and low they can do. I mean, there's so many options that the addition of Emma allows them. And we're starting to see it. And, she's only played 2 games. And so it'll be interesting to see. And a lot of this has been like experimenting too, to see what works. But yeah, she brings so much more versatility to this team that already is, I talked to Sonia last week about this team, and that was before they had Emma Meesseman officially. But she said this is the most versatile team she's ever been around.
Wow, that is a statement, because when you hear that word versatility, right, it looks like Meesseman is making life a lot easier for her teammates. She's going to make life easier for Breanna Stewart, Jonquel Jones, Sabrina Nescu. How do you see this all working when the team is whole again and they're healthy and they have the front court depth that they have? Do you see them as being more unstoppable, considering we just heard Sonia say that this is the most versatile team she's ever been around? It's going to be tough. And I think about the minutes and how Sandy Brondello is going to maximize all these players. But do you look at her making life easier, and also this team as being even stronger once they're healthy?
Yeah, I mean, you think about how big of a lineup they could potentially run with. You have Sabrina at the point, Feebach at the 2, Breanna and Emma and JJ. That is probably the biggest lineup we've ever seen in the WNBA. And there's so much just versatility on. I know that's the word that we just used, but
right.
The length, defensive length, the versatility, like there's so many weapons on the floor if they're all playing together. And Emma Meesseman does have familiarity with Breanna Stewart. She's played with her before. She's played with JJ before. That's why we're already seeing how well they're connected on the court. I just think, yeah, this is going to be, when the Liberty are healthy, they're going to be the hardest team to beat in the league. I am comfortable saying that, because I do have some questions about the Lynx, kind of more about their guard depth a little bit. I don't know if that the move to get Carrington was enough necessarily. I mean, I will happily eat my words if they prove me wrong, obviously, but I really think the Liberty, when healthy, are going to be a really tough matchup for a lot of teams.
Yeah, I love that you talked about not just the V word that we're using again, versatility, right? But it's the length that they have defensively, which is something Jonathan Cobb tried to address with this team last year, before last year's championship team. And now they're even bigger and longer and more switchable on defense, which is just even crazy to think about with them there. Somebody who's come back and now is healthy appears to be Jonquel Jones, right? Let's talk about her, because she's been playing some of her best basketball of this season since she's returned from her injury. What do you think has clicked for her right now, and how crucial is she to this team's championship hopes down the stretch here of the season?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for her is that she was ready to play. Like, she was itching to play before the All-Star break. And obviously they kept her out just because they wanted to make sure that she was 100% healed. They did not want to take any chances. But I think she sees that the team is hurting. The front court depth, like we've mentioned, there's all these injuries. They needed her to step up and to be that lift. I mean, she is their best rebounder on the floor at all times, obviously, but knowing that you don't have, a Breanna Stewart out there, or potentially like a Kennedy Burke, I mean, she needs to be hitting the glass hard. And so I think that, we're seeing that. And I think this is like some of the best basketball she's played, because they've needed it from her. She obviously started the season really strong as well, but I think that she's really come in, had some big moments in games when they needed it. So has Sabrina, obviously. But I do think, that she's incredibly important to this team. We saw the on and off court splits are insane when you actually look at them when it pertains to JJ. And I also think that, there's a reason why she was the finals MVP last year. And so she's critical to this team being able to defend their title. And we saw how important she was during that stretch the month when she was out. So, I think they're just happy to be back. She's happy to be back. Let's just get the rest of the team healthy is kind of the mindset right now.
Yeah, that is definitely the mindset. Speaking of that, obviously Stewie, I think a lot of fans here are going to want to know what's the latest with her leg injury, and how cautious are the Liberty being with her when she can come back, and if she can come back, and with her minutes. Do you get the sense that when she comes back, she'll be fully ready for a postseason push?
Yes, I don't think that they're going to rush her back by any means. I think that they know that this team has enough, can keep this season afloat, probably maintain, a top 3 seed, Obviously, you would want to stay in the number 2 seed, so you have home court advantage in the playoffs, which is huge. I don't know if they'll necessarily be able to reach the Lynx at this point. I mean, a lot can happen. There's still a lot of games left to be played in this season, obviously. But I think the biggest thing, yeah, they want her to be healthy. She has a right bone bruise in her right knee, which if anyone's had a bone bruise, you know that that can lead to inflammation. It can lead to
Yep.
swelling. It can lead to a lot of discomfort. It can also lead potentially to like the feeling of tendonitis in a lot of ways when it is swollen. So I think the biggest thing, knowing that she had surgery on that knee too this offseason, as much as they wanted to say it was a cleanup procedure and try and not make it sound major. Anytime you're doing surgery, it is a major surgery. You know what I mean? To
Right.
some
Yeah.
degree, like you're going in there and doing stuff. So I think, yeah, the team is going to do whatever they need to do to make sure that she's healthy and is confident, in her knee going back and playing. And so the hope is that she'll be back before the playoffs. Late August, maybe early September. I think I'm leaning more toward just from what I've heard, probably late August. That allows her enough time to get, back into game shape because there's no way to really get into like 5-on-5 basketball shape without playing it.
Yep.
And so I think the hope is, yeah, late August is hopefully is when she'll be back.
All right, Liberty
Hopefully.
fans, that's the hope. That is the hope. That is some good news. Maddie's here trying to give you. Hopefully, late August, early September, we see her back. Leonie Fiebich, she was struggling a little bit with her shot before Tuesday night, and she had some big shots that she hit, especially in the fourth quarter against Dallas. Seems to be breaking out of her slump. How important is her two-way play? Because when we talk about Jonquel Jones, Maddie, I look at her as so important, but Feebach also is so important in her two-way ability. How important is that, especially now that we're past the deadline and we're moving into the stretch run of the season? How important is it to her to get her back on track offensively?
Yeah, I mean, Leo is like an underrated star on this roster, I think. She does a lot more than what maybe fans can even see what she does,
Mm,
especially defensively. Like that's where she takes a lot of pride in her play is defensively. And the team, we talked about this earlier this probably a few weeks ago about how they wanted her to shoot more. They want her to be more confident, shooting the ball and attacking the rim and going downhill and stuff. And so we've seen that. And, out of the All-Star break, she looked great. She did hit a little slump. She broke out of it. I talked to her the other day before the game about her slump and what she's kind of been going through. I mean, look, she's tired. A lot. Most of this team is tired, but nobody is tired like Feebach. I mean, she played an entire overseas season, and then she was late to training camp because she was wrapping up postseason play overseas. And so she comes in, she plays for the first few weeks of the season, goes overseas again to play for Eurobasket, which is like 6 games in 11 days or something like that. I mean, that's a pretty significant workload. Then she flies back here, is dealing with jet lag and kind of playing through it. And, she's been in a lot of ways just a really like a stabilizer for this team in the way that she plays her two-way effort. And I wasn't really concerned about the slump. I mean, every player goes through shooting slumps at some point in this season. Rather have it now than obviously later. But yeah, she has so much ability to score. I think we're only seeing like there's so much more room for her to grow in her game. Like she's already such a great player, and it's going to be really exciting to see, how she continues to just gain that confidence and make more and more of an impact with this team.
Yeah, she's so impactful. I think I can't remember which game I was at a couple weeks ago. I think it was T Cloud who said she's kind of like a sneaky star, underrated star that people should know about in the league, but still kind of sometimes don't know. We know because we watch her how good her two-way ability is, but Feebach is for Liberty fans. If you're not watching the stuff she's doing, particularly on defense, she's great out there, and she's a great two-way player. All right, we got to talk about some stuff that's going around the league that actually impacted the Liberty the other night, right? Because this is the
Yeah.
latest viral headline. You know where I'm going with this, Maddie.
Mhm.
We've got the NYPD. They're now doing an investigation of an incident involving a sex toy being thrown onto the court at Barclays Center. That happened on Tuesday, Liberty Wings game. And the league, they've responded to this. They put out a statement. But what's your take on these incidents that we're seeing across the league with these sex toys being thrown on the court and becoming more common? We've seen people like Lynx head coach Cheryl Reeves speak out against this. It's becoming more problem. I don't like it. What are your thoughts on all this?
I don't like it either. I mean, the first time it happened, it was funny, I guess, like, haha. I mean, I don't think throwing uh, anything on the court is that funny just because from a player safety standpoint. I mean, I've seen players roll their ankles on air before, so having an object on the court and then the fact that they played another, several seconds before the play was whistled dead was concerning in my opinion. But the fact that it keeps happening and, now there's some people claiming that they're part of it or they're the people behind it or whatever. I mean, it's not funny. It's to the point that, and I talked to Izzy Harrison about this, where these are professional athletes. They come to work to play basketball. And it is putting players at risk, getting hit by one, stepping on one, whatever. Like, it's not good for the game. And women's sports for a long time has been the butt of the joke. And now that women's sports has more credibility than ever, finally, we're seeing, people trying to delegitimize it again by making it a joke. I mean, there's people betting on the color of the object being thrown on the court. It's insane. And the fact that it keeps happening is extremely concerning to me. I am going to cover a game in Dallas tonight, and I don't know if something's going to be thrown. And I think the league could have done more by getting out in front. I think the Liberty could have done more by the way they handled it, by just making it clear that this is not okay, and anyone that has done this will be, prosecuted to the fullest extent, and I don't think a 1-year ban is enough. I mean, we've seen people get
Hmm.
lifetime bans from ballparks for doing a lot less. So I think, the league really should take a harder stance in making it clear that this is unacceptable behavior, and we are doing everything we can to ensure that this isn't happening. Because I do remember, during the playoffs a few years ago, there was protests where during NBA games where people were running
Hmm.
onto the court and gluing their hands to the
Yes.
court or whatever it
Yep.
was. And the way that they were able to, swoop in and prevent that from happening at future games. It happened a few times, I
It
believe,
happened.
but
It happened twice in the Grizzlies Timberwolves series. I remember that in the playoffs.
yeah, and
Twice in
then,
that series. Yeah.
like, I think it almost happened again, and they came in and swooped in and, like, grabbed
Yep.
them before they could get to the court, and so I think that's the thing. I mean, I don't blame the teams in this incident just because teams are doing what they can. I think this is more of, like, a league issue.
I don't disagree with you at all, and I think you hit the nail on the head. This is about player safety first and foremost. If you've played basketball, like you said, you've seen people roll their ankles on less, have serious injuries. You don't want to trip over something. And I want to say, as a man, part of this show, this is extremely disrespectful to the
Mhm.
women who are working. Would you like it if somebody came at your job and threw something? I think quite often enough we don't look at professional athletes in sports as people doing their job, Maddie. I know you do. We do, because we do a
Yeah.
job around it covering these teams. But to disrespect these people at their place of employment is absolutely ridiculous. And, there's a group of men out there claiming that they're behind this. Shame on y'all.
No,
I don't,
yeah. No, I mean, serious.
yeah,
Like, this is just like, I don't get why, like, again, people made jokes out of the first time it happened, but the fact that it continues to happen, it's not funny. It hasn't been funny for some time now. And now you have copycats, it's becoming this huge thing. Like, it's happening on, like, a nightly
yeah.
basis, it feels like. So, yeah. Shame on whoever came up with this as their idea to get some type of, like, free publicity or whatever for their company. Just shame,
Yeah,
yeah. Anyone who throws anything at people is
yeah, I
shameful, because these are humans at the end of the day
absolutely.
too. Like, I know we like to act like professional athletes are, otherworldly figures or whatever. But no, these are humans. They have feelings. They take their job very seriously, like you and I take our
Yep,
jobs very
absolutely.
seriously.
Well said. I'm glad we were able to talk about it. A couple more things before we go. Okay, so Liberty, we just talked about the fact that
Yeah.
they beat the Wings at home on Tuesday. Now they're going to be in Dallas. You were here for the game on Friday night. This is the second leg of a home and home series. What
Mhm.
do you think fans should be keeping an eye on in this rematch? And when I look at a game like this, Maddie, I'm always like, is this a potential trap game, especially one where you had a quick turnaround from Tuesday to Friday? Do you look at this as a trap game, particularly before the Lynx game that is coming on Sunday?
Definitely, because I think even the last time that they were in Dallas and they got absolutely
Right.
embarrassed in the first half, I thought that was a trap game. It looked like they hadn't even prepared for Dallas. Like they were surprised at how good the Wings were playing in that game and how good Paige Beckers is. And so I this has the makings for it. We don't know yet for sure whether Paige is going to play as of almost 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock where you're at. But so we'll monitor that and keep an eye on that. But I do think, this is a game that you can't get caught looking forward to the Lynx, knowing the challenge that lays ahead beyond this game. You got to take the Wings very seriously because they've proven, time and time again that if you give them an opportunity, like this team has a lot of fight. And I know the record is what it is. It's like 8 and
Yep.
22 or whatever. But this team, they have they're very together. They have good basketball players, and I think anyone playing at the WNBA level is obviously very talented basketball player. But they have good players. It's just they're in a rebuild, and rebuilds are hard. Rebuilds are ugly, but I just would never count a team that has
Yeah,
Paige
I
out.
wouldn't. We all know Paige can ball. She is dangerous. She even put up some buckets the other night at Barclays. I would not sleep on her,
Mhm.
especially if she is playing. Last thing for me, Maddie, we got to talk about Sunday's game because they'll come back to the Barclays Center against Minnesota, as I mentioned. This is huge anytime these teams play, particularly because they met in the finals last year. The Lynx are at the top of the league. Not just for standings, I think Liberty want to win this. They need to get some momentum, especially the 4-game losing streak last week. What do you look at in terms of the significance of this matchup, especially with how well the Lynx have been playing recently? They coming into Friday play as we do that. They've won 3 in a row. They're down fee. They just got Dejanay Carrington added to this team in a trade. So, what's the significance of this matchup on Sunday?
I mean, I think it's technically considered part of the WNBA's like rivalry week. But I've talked to players and people from both sides of the teams. They don't see the Liberty and the
I don't
Lynx
think it's
as
there yet. I
rivals
kind of
by
agree.
any
Yeah,
means. Yeah, no, I mean, rivalries are built, whether it's between certain players, or just general history of meeting in the playoffs. I think that there's more of a rivalry between the
agree.
Liberty and Aces. But I digress. I think that, it's a really good measuring stick for both teams because you know that these are the top two teams in the league. They are both, hungry to win a title this season. So this is a good, even though both teams are not healthy by any means and probably won't be at full strength for any of the remaining games that they play each other. I think that, again, they're using this as to see where they're at. They're both going to come out with a lot of fight, and the Liberty are a team that I always feel like you can't really count them out of any game because they have a tendency to go on these crazy second half rallies and come back and win. I can't tell you how many times they've been down by double digits and win it in the second half of the game or even in the fourth quarter. But I yeah, I think that it'll be a really exciting game, even though some of the
Yeah,
stars are
you'd like the
missing.
stars to be there, but they won't. But I still think it's a measuring stick game. Look, Liberty, at the time of us recording this, they are 5.5 games behind the Lynx. Are they likely to catch them for the top spot? No, but as you said earlier in the show, it's still important for them to hold on the second seed, and there's little room for error between them and the Dream and the Mercury are right behind them. So they've got to win these games and they've got to build some momentum. We'll see what they can do, but it starts. They got to win in Dallas, and then we'll see what they can do on Sunday
Mhm.
back at the Barclays Center, which means that is a busy weekend for Maddie. She's going from Dallas back to Brooklyn. Got a lot of traveling to. Then she's back on the road next week, which is
Mhm.
crazy. So next time we do this
Yep.
next week, I'll also be talking to you when you are on the road. But folks,
Probably
another
from another
hotel
hotel
room
room.
somewhere in the United
Yeah.
States. We'll be doing that. But
Yep.
everybody, that is the great Madeline Kenney, our women's sports reporter here at the New York Post. I'm Dexter Henry. Thank you for watching another edition of Liberty Lately.